Very good afternoon, everyone. How are you? So, audio video all set? Just let me know quickly. Audible and visible? All right. I hope you all are doing well. So, there was a pause in the editorial session due to some technical issues and new schedule with the offline classes. You all know that thing. But you need not worry. We have covered the editorials up to 30th June. So, today I'll be taking up your editorials from the newspapers of 1st and 2nd July. For 3rd and 4th, we will have the editorials tomorrow. Okay, need not worry about that. We will have these classes. You will not be missing upon anything which is important for you. All right, so let's begin with the analysis. Welcome back to editorial sessions, and today we have two editorials to discuss. First is from your you can see here. So this is for 1st and 2nd July. All right, for 3rd and 4th I'll be taking tomorrow. First is your related to central bank digital currency. This editorial has been taken from your business line of 2nd July. You can go and read this article. This is very informative and I found it relevant. So today after this article, you will be very handy regarding central bank digital currency. Also we discussed it in up to some reference in the RBI annual report as well, but today you will have a deeper understanding and clarity regarding CBDC, okay, central bank digital currency. All right, so excited? Let's discuss what the editorial talks about. So first is this one from 2nd July business line. All right, CBDC and its scope. CBDC and its scope. All right, so first the author is saying that central bank digital currency is a major revolution in the world of fintech. Okay, and e-rupee is rapidly expanding its footprint. You all know what is central bank digital currency. You have a general idea about it, right? We have discussed this thing in the RBI annual report as well. So central bank digital currency is digital form of your fiat currency only. It is not different from the fiat currencies which we are presently using, right? So this will be a legal tender as well. So it is equal to fiat currency, just a digital form of it. Getting my point? So in fintech, what is fintech? So financial technology. Now you have online transactions, digital payments, all those things. In fintech, CBDC is indeed a revolution, agree or not? It is, right? So CBDC, central bank digital currency, is a major revolution in the world of fintech, and e-rupee is rapidly expanding its footprint. E-rupee. So e-rupee is your digital currency, right? If you recall the RBI annual report classes, we have discussed that this is in two forms: e-rupee wholesale and e-rupee retail, right? So wholesale and retail. Now one more thing, if you are able to recall that RBI is presently having pilot projects for these central bank digital currencies. Yes or no? You remember? Tell me. You all remember the pilot projects which we have discussed in the report? No? Yes? Yes? Right? Okay. So pilot projects are being carried on by the RBI. So gradually we are expanding the scope of CBDC in India, trying to innovate, trying to understand what will work, what will not. So it has been enrolled as pilot projects in India. This is the present state of digital currency, central bank digital currency, which is issued by RBI, So it is a liability of RBI. Always remember, it will be a liability of RBI. It falls in the liability section of the balance sheet of RBI. Clear? Okay, this much is clear. So this is indeed a revolution in fintech world. Now, acknowledging the meteoric rise of UPI uses, the RBI governor stated. Now, why this article is in news? Why CBDC has gained so much prominence in these newspapers nowadays? Because recently there was this summit held of Bank of International Settlements. So at that summit, RBI governor at Bank of International Settlement Innovation Summit 2024 has said something regarding this. So first of all, you tell me, what is BIS? Bank of International Settlements. What is BIS? You know what is BIS? So BIS is basically, yes, it is Basel based Yes, very good. It is Basel based in Switzerland, right? So it is based in Basel, headquartered in Basel. But what is it? So Bank of International Settlements is an international, yes, body. It is the bank which coordinates among the central banks and other financial institutions worldwide for macroeconomic stability and growth. Have you understood, right? So Bank of International Settlements, the Basel norms are also there. So the Basel Committee on the Basel norms also reports to the Bank of International Settlements, right? So all these capital adequacy norms which you have recommended on the international level by BIS, by the Basel Committee. So Basel Committee finally gives them to the BIS, Bank of International Settlements, right? So BIS is a central organization, is an organization or bank which coordinates between the central banks of the countries and other financial institutions, right? So there was recently a meeting or a summit held which was Innovation Summit 2024. So there, the RBI governor has said, that there exists a considerable scope for further digitalization of payments in India, and e-rupee provides an added avenue by mimicking features of cash in the virtual world. So governor himself has highlighted that UPI payments need further boost. We are in the era of digitalization and that needs to be increased. For that, you have e-rupee or digital currency that would provide an extra avenue to you, that would provide a boost to this digitalization, right? So we are not only focusing upon digital payments within India, but we are also focusing on fostering the cross-border online payments as well. You know that, right? So this is the thing. Now what is important for you? You remember all these features of CBDC. CBDC is a very important topic relevant for any examination you are going to appear in, right? So now the RBI governor has stated this. Also, he has stated that it is an added avenue by mimicking features of cash in the virtual world. Remember this line. Mimicking features of cash in the virtual world. What does it mean? It means that the CBDC is mimicking exact features of cash in the virtual world. So it is not different from the cash currency, physical currency which we hold right now. It is similar to that. No, not crypto. I am saying it is mimicking the features of cash into the virtual world. So whatever cash, whatever physical currency we have, it is mimicking all the features of those physical currency into digital world. Are you getting my point? Understood? Now what these features have been mentioned, remember these terminologies. They are very interesting. Even if you get an opportunity to write an answer regarding CBDC, you should use these typical jargons. All these information are taken from RBI's official website, these terminologies as well, right? So you should incorporate these terminologies in your answer writing. So anonymity. Now what are these features being mimicked by CBDC in the cash format? So first, the governor is saying anonymity. So we are saying that it is equivalent to cash currency or physical currency. It's just that it is in the online form or digital form. So what are those features? First is your anonymity. What is anonymity? You understand what is anonymity in terms of transactions? So in terms of transactions, anonymity is basically that you don't have to disclose your information, your identity. You don't have to give your personal information, and you can do the transactions. Now you tell me that anonymity is more in physical form of currency or in digital form? Yes, quickly. So of course in the cash, so when you have more transactions into cash, that leads to more anonymity, right? Not trackable as well. Cash, of course. That's why, in digitalization we have more transparency, of course. So this is anonymity. So these are the features. Remember this line. You can use these lines, interesting lines. These are mimicking the features of cash in the virtual world. This makes your answer stand out. What are the features? First is anonymity. So our governor is saying that your, privacy, financial privacy would not be compromised. It would be, although you know that it cannot be that anonymous, up to the level the cash transactions or the physical transactions are, isn't it? But still anonymity will be there. Second feature, ease of usage. It will be easy to use. It will not be complicated. So ease of usage. So cash is easy to use. Similarly, your digital currency or CBDC will be easy to use. So the ease of use of this currency would not be compromised. So that's how it also, in that sense, also mimics the physical currency. That's what the governor wanted to say. Then finality, finality of settlement. Finality of settlement. What do you mean by finality of settlement? Remember, these terminologies are very interesting. So what is finality of settlement in transaction? That once the transaction is done, it will not be revoked. It will be irrevocable. Are you getting my point? Once the transaction is done, it will not be revoked. It will be irrevocable. Okay. So this is the thing. Settled immediately. Yeah, that is not the exact finality of settlement, but yes, once it is done, you cannot revoke it. So there is certainty of the payment. Once you have initiated the payment, that would be settled up. Okay. This is what exactly the word finality of settlement means. So these are the features highlighted by the author, by the governor, that these are there in case of CBDC. Understood, right? So CBDC, we can say, is mimicking the features of cash into virtual world. This line is interesting. Okay. Now moving forward, what does the author says further? So there's some conceptual clarity, I hope so, right? Now, today CBDCs present a bouquet of advantages for the participating countries. So while highlighting these features, the importance of this summit which was held, okay, BIS summit, author says that nowadays, CBDC is not only something related to digitalization, it is a whole bouquet of flowers. Like you have a bouquet of flowers, so it is a bouquet of flowers. It is a bouquet of advantages. There are a lot of advantages being provided by CBDC nowadays, right? What all are they? For participating countries, which include, so every country which participates in this entire CBDC regime will be benefited out of it. Now you need to understand that CBDC is not only India specific. You have all other countries transforming their payment and settlement system or their transactions, online transactions, with the use of digital currencies, yes or no. So it will benefit all the participating countries. Also, whatever countries we will be engaged in the CBDC mechanism, that would become clear as these pilot projects are being carried on. So as and when the clarity comes to all these projects, we will understand how it is going to work at the international level as well. Right. So the author saying it will be advantageous not only for India but all the participating countries. Now what all advantages are there? Again, this is very important. You write these terminologies. I am telling you, you can use them directly in your answers. It would make your answer stand out, right? That's why I chose this article as well. Now, what are these benefits which the author is talking about? First, offering functionality and programmability. Offering functionality and programmability. Now these two things, use these words, these are typical jargons taken from RBI's website only. So you need to understand what do we mean when we say programmability and functionality. By functionality, all the functions which your physical cash performs. What all are the functions? Monetary function, right? So cash works as medium of transaction, isn't it? It works as a store of value. You can store the value, you can use it for transactions. All those functions will be provided by CBDC as well. So functionality is same. Functionality, it will provide functionality. You can use these currencies for your transactions, for storing the value of the assets, all these functions. Understood what do we mean by functionality, right? So this is functionality. Then programmability. What do we mean by programmability in digital currency? So by programmability, RBI means that these currencies, these CBDCs should be used only for desired or for allowed benefits. allowed benefits. Whatever has been allowed, you can use them for those as well. For example, so there is a private company, the private company wants to plan a business travel, okay, business travel. That business travel for the employees is something, if it is allowed, then CBDC can also be used for it. So it is programmability. They are trying to expand the programmability to, encompass all the facilities which can be provided, all the avenues which can be used for CBDC transactions. Are you getting my point? So have you understood? So whatever is desired, whatever is allowed benefit which you can get out of CBDC, for which you can use CBDC, is programmability. Understood? So functionality, programmability. Okay. Then supporting last mile targeted fiscal transfers. Before moving ahead to this feature, let me tell you, one of the very important features of functionality and programmability at present is that we are planning to roll out particularly the e-rupee retail, retail in, offline. So we are in a process of offering offline functionality for e-rupee retail, offline functionality for e-rupee retail. Now what is it? There are these places, airports and all. So okay, I'll try to use Hindi as well. Alright, so e-rupee retail, e-rupee retail kya hai? We have seen the classification of digital currency into two heads, if you remember the RBI report. So it is retail and it is wholesale. For retail digital currency, it is open for general use. Retail e-rupee retail को कोई भी use कर सकता है, general purpose use के लिए है, okay? And the second one, which is e-rupee wholesale, वो सिर्फ financial institutions use कर पाएंगे. जैसे किन functions में you can use these e-rupee wholesale. So you can use them, in secondary market payment settlement of transaction settlement of government securities. So government securities का जो भी secondary market में transaction settlement होगा, in that you can use the e-rupee wholesale. You can use e-rupee wholesale in interbank transactions. Banks आपस में एक दूसरे को loan लेते देते हैं, right? उसमें use किया जा सकता है. तो wholesale is restricted for certain financial institutions that would be specified by the RBI time to time. But retail is for general purpose. So we are planning, RBI is in a process to roll out offline e-rupee retail. Now, what would that mean? That would mean the general public will be able to use this even in the areas where there are weaker internet connections. So in the remote areas, in the airports, all the places where, UPI payments are not possible. So it will increase digital penetration. Yes or no, everyone? It will enhance digital penetration in India. Yes? No? Isn't it? So you can connect these dots. This is going to be there. So this is an addition to functionality of CBDC. You can use this, okay? Adding to functionality of CBDC. I hope you have understood, right? So this was the add-on which I wanted to give you. Next function, the author is saying that it will support the last mile targeted fiscal transfers. Any benefits which government wants to give, for that purpose as well CBDC can be used. It will go up to the last mile, up to the end point of any scheme you are trying to deliver to public. Targeted deliveries will be benefited, like direct benefit transfers. Are you getting my point? Yes, financial inclusion will also be increased. Very good. Okay. So this is the thing. So it will also support last mile targeted fiscal transfers. Any ultimate user हो गया, ultimate end aim हो गया किसी aim का, which you want to achieve. You have any scheme, whatever the ultimate program, ultimate objective, ultimate aim of that scheme will also be delivered successfully via using CBDC even into the remotest areas. Understood? So this is also one of the benefits. Then enabling cross-border payments. Of course, we are continuously engaging in the cross-border payment sector with the countries, isn't it? Right? So cross-border payments will also improve with the help of CBDC. You can use CBDC for cross-border payments. And finally, finality of settlement, they feature substantially reducing the cost of transactions. So these are, certain features. Finality of settlement. I have recently discussed this point with you, that finality of settlement would mean it would be irrevocable. You cannot revoke the payment once done. So all these things are going to reduce the cost of transactions for you. नहीं, कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट बैंक्स की जरूरत नहीं है वैसे, बट जो भी रोल आउट होगा प्लान इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे, वो आरबीआई स्पेसिफाई कर देगा, तब हम लोग उसको डिस्कस करेंगे. अभी देयर इज नॉट दिस मच क्लैरिटी अबाउट दीज थिंग्स. ओके रुद्रेश, ऑलराइट. अगर ऐसा कोई फीचर होता है, आएगा न्यूज में, जब भी हम क्रॉस बॉर्डर पेमेंट्स चालू करेंगे सीबीडीसी में, तब वी विल डिस्कस इट. एज ऑफ नाउ देयर इज नो सच थिंग. यूपीआई से it is interoperable. It is interoperable with UPI. I'm going to cover that point as well. Okay, just wait. So we have discussed these things, right? Finality of settlement, you all know. Features substantially reducing the cost of transactions. ये सारी features जो है, all these features will substantially reduce the cost of transactions as well, isn't it? It would be fast. It is reliable. It has more functionality, more programmability. It will reduce your cost of transactions. So this much is clear. It is beneficial for every country. Next is saying e-rupee and UPI continue to witness vibrant developments. Author is saying in India, you see UPI is continuing. So we have covered this thing in the RBI annual report, that UPI is expanding its roots, right? UPI India is very much performing very well in terms of UPI transaction, right? Also e-rupee, the pilot projects are very, optimistic. They are showing success signs, success signals. So we are very optimistic about e-rupee and UPI. So they continue to witness vibrant development. Also CBDC-W has been expanded in its scope to cover more transactions between financial institutions. So author is saying not only retail. So by now you have understood the difference between CBDC retail and CBDC wholesale, isn't it? So not only retail transactions are very much increasing, but also the wholesale transactions are performing well. Now I have told you what what purposes CBDC wholesale is used. So you can use CBDC, central bank digital currency, wholesale, for settling up government securities transactions in the secondary market, for settling up your interbank transactions, lending and borrowing in the money market, right? So all these things, these are also increasing in India. That provides an alternative to your financial institutions as well. So they will also witness reduced cost of borrowing, cost of transactions. So it would benefit your banking system, your financial system as a whole, and the economy as a whole as well, right? So this is the thing. CBDC-W has been expanded in its scope to cover more transactions between financial institutions. Now it has been expanded. More financial institutions are being allowed by the RBI to be a part of CBDC wholesale transactions. Okay. Then CBDC retail has been expanded to more participating banks and locations and made interoperable with UPI QR codes. So wholesale, you see, more financial institutions are allowed to participate via CBDC wholesale. If we talk about CBDC retail, so in CBDC retail also, what has led to expansion of their use? So CBDC retail has been expanded for more participating banks. So now more banks can participate in this. You remember I gave you certain names in the RBI annual report class that presently you can get CBDC from all the banks. So one of them is SBI, then your ICICI, then IDBI First Bank, isn't it? You remember the names? Yes or no? Right? So now it is being expanded to cover more such banks. More such banks will offer you CBDC wallet. Got it? Also, it has been made interoperable with UPI QR codes. You just check the list presently which all banks are there. There is a list, many banks are supposed to be included, but just check which all are presently providing you CBDC. Okay, all right. So participating banks has been increased. Then this feature you should remember. This feature, interoperability with UPI QR codes. Interoperability with UPI QR codes. What is this? This is very important feature. Remember, they are the CBDC retail. CBDC retail has been made interoperable with UPI QR code. What does that mean? That means, earlier what happened is, how CBDC works. So we have discussed in the RBI classes that you require a particular wallet for CBDC that would be provided to you by the concerned bank, isn't it? So if you have CBDC wallet and the person in front of you or with whom you want to engage in a transaction has a CBDC wallet, then only you can transact. Also, initially in the pilot projects, only certain QR codes were supporting the CBDC transaction. Are you getting my point? But now it is interoperable with UPI QR codes. All the UPI QR codes will now support CBDC wallets. This is an important feature. You should write this down. So this is something we call as interoperability. So now it is interoperable. It is operable along with the UPI QR codes. All the UPI QR codes which are working at present will support the CBDC wallet. This is what interoperability with UPI QR codes mean. Have you understood this? Tell me quickly. Yes or no? Yes, everyone? Understood? Right? So this is interoperability, that all the UPI QR codes will support now CBDC transaction. There are no specific QR codes required for CBDC wallet. This is what we mean by interoperability. All these things are pointing out to what? That CBDC has a lot of scope. One more time, what do you want me to explain? This thing, interoperability. So say earlier only one or two types of QRs. So you have UPI QRs, right? You have QR offered for UPI transactions. Earlier what happened is all QRs were not supporting the transactions of CBDC. You had to have a specific QR for your CBDC wallet. Now whatever UPI QRs are available to the customer can be used for CBDC transaction. This is what interoperability of CBDC and UPI means. Now I hope you have understood, right? Let me know quickly. Understood, right? So now this was a part of analysis. I have incorporated certain features from the RBI's official website, whatever they have given as features about the CBDC, right? So that you become very clear about this concept CBDC. You need not go anywhere to read about this. Okay, so these are certain features provided to you. Again, in the next slides we will have again the analysis. So first let's look at these features. So features of CBDC, we have discussed all them in the RBI report. So CBDC is a sovereign currency. You know that, right? Sovereign currency. It will be issued by your central bank in alignment with their monetary policy. So it will be a liability of the RBI. It will be issued by them. Clear? It will be sovereign. Okay? It is risk free. It will be a legal tender. Okay, it appears as liability on the central bank's balance sheet. Remember this point. It will be liability of the central bank. Now here I would ask you one question, that the digital deposits which you have are liability of whom? The digital deposits which you have, now I'm not saying the digital currency, but the deposits which you have in the banks are liability of whom? Quickly, tell me the answers quickly. They are liability of banks. Okay, so remember this, the The deposits, online deposits which you have in the digital form are the liability of the commercial banks, but currency is issued by the RBI, so currency is liability of the RBI. Remember this, okay? So this point is clear. Next, it must be accepted as a medium of payment. Okay, so it is a legal tender. You know what is a legal tender, right? Where you have legal backing against a currency to be used as a medium of exchange. You cannot deny it to be used as a medium of exchange because it is a legal tender. So it is, you know, similar to your fiat currency. As I told you, what is fiat currency? Fiat currency is the currency in which the value given is due to the legal backing. The currency material does not have its intrinsic value. For example, earlier we had gold coins, right? So gold coin की value क्यों होती थी? क्योंकि वो gold था. That was the value of the gold, not the number written over the gold coin, isn't it? But now we have a paper. So if you remove 500 denomination out of that paper, the paper is of no use. Yes or no? That is fiat currency. Okay, and it is a legal tender as well. So it is a fiat currency. It should be accepted as a legal tender and a safe store of value by all citizens, enterprises, government agencies. So it is just a virtual form of the present currency which you have. Understood? Remember these features. Next, freely convertible against bank money and cash. So they will be freely convertible into deposits into cash. Okay, with your bank. Next, fungible legal tender for which holders needed, just a second, need not have a bank account. So for this, you don't need to have a bank account proper. You will just be provided with a wallet. Are you getting my point? You just have to store the CBDC into that wallet. Yes or no? Right? So you need not have a separate bank account for it. A wallet would work. Got this point? Next, expected to lower the cost of issuance of money and transactions. Of course, you see this point, last point. In printing currency, a huge cost is incurred. So it would reduce if you not print the currency. If it is in the digital form, it will prevent a lot of money going into the cost as for the printing of new currency or for the printing of currency notes, bank notes, isn't it? So it will save your time as well. It will save your cost as well for transactions as well as for printing of money. Agree? Right? So these are certain basic features, you know, of your CBDC. The classification you already know that it will be retail and wholesale. Also, it is a currency only. It is not something, you know, on which you earn interest. No. So no interest will be earned. Remember, on CBDC, you need only a wallet, no account especially required. Now it is interoperable with the UPI. You can use any UPI QR code for transacting the CBDC. So I hope you have understood all these features. No, not the demand of the crypto. It will be decided by the RBI only. Okay. It is not crypto, remember. It is not crypto. Okay. It is not cryptocurrency. It is a digital currency. There is a difference. In cryptocurrency, there is no regulation. Are you getting my point? So do not confuse it with the cryptocurrency. It is a digital currency. Everything regarding this will be decided by the RBI. So it is just a virtual form of your currency. No, it is not crypto. Not crypto. Okay. Crypto is different. Understood? So this is the thing. Shall I move ahead now? Moving on to further analysis. Now, you have this point. So the author is saying that in India, wholesale CBDC, wholesale digital currency, which is used, as I told you, for settling secondary market transaction in government securities, interbank lending and banking borrowing operations, they predate basically. They predate the retail variant. Now remember this. This is also, so wholesale was the first one to be there. Retail came later. Are you getting this point? Wholesale was the first one. If you compare the two, retail came later. This is something you should remember. Also retail covers your P2P and P2M transactions. So retail covers your P2P and P2M transactions. What are P2P and P2M? So person to person as well as person to merchant. Simple. So you transact among yourselves, you transact with some merchants. That would be allowed for your under your CBDC. So it would be P2P as well as P2M. Remember these terminologies, person to person and then person to merchant. Understood? Right? Next, the author says, but there is a challenge. So we have seen, the scope of the CBDC so far. We have seen the features, we have seen the importance given by the governor in the statement, right? But there is a challenge as well. What is the challenge? It is interesting that since UPI transactions are free of cost and do not charge any MDR, merchant discount rate, appetite for new players to enter the UPI space is limited. There is this challenge in this market. Remember this. This is very important point. I think so it will be useful for you in your examination. So what is the biggest challenge which we have for fair competition in this market if we want to align the CBDC with the, if we want CBDC to be interoperable with the UPI? So the challenge is, UPI transactions are free of cost, yes or no? Right? So we are addicted now. We are हमारी आदत हो गई है कि हमें UPI transaction free में चाहिए अब. Okay, even if there is a minimal charge, that won't create a big difference, but still we want UPI transactions to be free of cost. So now there is no merchant discount rate. No merchant is booking his or its profit for providing you the service nowadays. Agree or not? Presently, we all are using UPI. So, there is no fees which you give for your UPI transactions. Yes or no? Yes, right? This is the challenge. Why? Why is this a challenge? So, this is what is merchant discount rate. So, when these merchants are the intermediaries. So, you have your merchants in the credit card. Name a few quickly. What all merchants you have. So, they take their commission, okay, for settling up the transaction, for providing you with the platform for doing the transactions. Yes, charge of transaction. That is your MDR. But it is not there in the case of UPI, right? So, what are the merchants? You have the MasterCard, yes, RuPay, right? Now, appetite for new players to enter is limited. So now the challenge is it provides a lesser incentive for the new players to enter into the market. So there is this, somewhat entry to barriers being created because of free cost UPI, no cost UPI. Like you have no cost EMIs, you always search for no cost EMI, right? Whenever you order something on EMI, you always search for no cost EMI. But still there are some hidden charges, yes or no? So this no cost UPI payment has led to, no deliberate but still entry barriers. No one wants to enter into this market because of this. So this is a challenge we need to address to increase the competition, to have fair competition, to have more big players. Right? Understood? Alright, this is the thing. So this is a challenge you should remember. This is one of the challenge. Now next thing which we have in the analysis is there are certain advantages as well. Okay. So in advantages, if we discuss of the CBDC, the author says even with a near ubiquitous UPI, CBDC viewed as complementary to UPI is desirable. So the author is saying CBDC is desirable, although it is complementary to UPI. It is not substituting UPI, remember. It is just adding to the UPI, but it is desirable. Okay, while UPI needs operational bank accounts, CBDC can ride on a wallet powered by a mobile number. This is one of the advantage. So you should remember all these points exactly. You can write them in your descriptive. So whenever if there is a question related to it, right? So you see, one of the advantages of CBDC over UPI, although we are not substituting the UPI with CBDC, it is just adding to it. Yes. So, you know, you don't require an operational bank account for this. Only a wallet powered by a mobile number would work. As I told you recently that you only require a wallet, and that too now you have interoperability. All QR codes will be supporting that wallet which you have on your mobile number, isn't it? So, isn't it interesting, right? So, it will promote transactions. You will have more digital transactions. You will require lesser cash then, okay? Then in regions with low banking penetration, CBDC provides succor. As I told you that the RBI is planning to roll out a new functionality of CBDC retail, that, you know, they are planning to have a offline functionality of CBDC retail. So in that case, wherever you don't have UPI's reach, you will have a reach of the CBDC. Isn't it? So wherever there is banking penetration lesser, where there are less bank branches, in that case CBDC can be used. So, you know, financial inclusion will be growing multiple times, I think so, with the launch of the CBDC in a full-fledged manner. You agree with me or not? Agree? So if you don't reply, I'll assume that you agree with me, right? Agree? Okay. Next, while UPI bank account money is backed by deposit insurance, CBDC enjoys sovereign guarantee. So it is much more risk-free. Why? Although you have, you know, UPI is just a medium. The money is underlying in your bank account. So you have DICGC's insurance up to 5 lakh rupee per person per bank. Okay, or so per account. Right? So basically, if you have multiple accounts within a bank, the insured amount would be only 5 lakh rupees. Remember this, right? So this thing, it is backed by DICGC's insurance cover. But what is the backing of CBDC? It is sovereign guarantee. It is, you know, RBI's currency. You cannot have any risk in that case. Right? CBDC development and usage will be highly instrumental in reducing cash usage as well. So it will also reduce your cash dependency. Right? It will also reduce your cash dependency. Understood? Any doubts so far? Yes. Okay. These are certain advantages. Now moving ahead with the analysis. There is another interesting term, you know, another interesting term. What is it? Remember this terminology, currency paradox going on. So the author has highlighted that there is this currency paradox going on. What is this currency paradox? So we witnessed today a currency paradox. What is it? That there is a rise in UPI transactions without a significant decrease in the cash usage. So this is a paradox Indian economy is witnessing, isn't it? And that is the question you also asked when we discussed the CBDC in the RBI annual report, that will it replace the cash? Someone has asked, I think Manav only asked me that, you know, I remember all your questions. Will it replace cash if it is implemented in a full-fledged manner? It will not. It will not replace the cash. But the present trend which we are witnessing in the Indian economy is this paradox. What is this paradox? That there is a rise in UPI transaction, but still we don't have significant decrease in the cash usage. So this is very peculiar. Remember this thing, currency paradox. You have learned something new today, right? Currency paradox. What is this? That UPI transactions are increasing manifold. We know that. But then why there is no decrease in the cash usage? Because, you know, people are preferring to use digital payments for daily transactions. Okay, while keeping cash as a fallback and for precautionary purposes. So for daily transactions we are using UPI. If you remember the ticket size, I have mentioned this term, ticket size. If you remember, in RBI annual report we have discussed there is something. How is it possible? What possibility are you asking about? Tell me the exact question. So if you remember the RBI annual report, we have discussed that the ticket size in case of UPI transaction has reduced. What is the ticket size? that we are using them for a smaller amount of transactions, isn't it? So for day-to-day transactions, we are using UPI, but for precautionary purposes, we are also maintaining the cash. So that's why you see this currency paradox is presently going on in case of Indian economy. Are you able to understand that? It is possible by this. So for day-to-day transactions, you are trusting UPI. But you know, for emergency needs, for precautionary purposes, you still are holding cash with yourselves. So people are still obsessed with cash in Indian economy. With CBDC, RBI can nudge people for holding less cash and penalize for holding physical cash. Why currency uses? Yeah, so got it, right? So finally author is saying that CBDC can be used by RBI to nudge people to use lesser of cash. Now penalizing can be something, you know, I am still not very sure about this word penalizing. As in when the CBDC is launched in a full-fledged manner, we will see whether RBI penalizes or not. This word is used by the author only, okay? But yes, we can nudge people for reducing the cash uses in the economy, okay? All right, this is the thing. Now, so this was the article regarding CBDC. I hope you have understood this editorial, CBDC. So you have understood all the features of CBDC, what exactly CBDC is. We have discussed it 2 times in the RBI annual report and now today in the editorial, right? So now you are very much clear about this thing. We have seen these analysis, remember the word currency paradox and all these things. So next article which we have today is taken from your business standard. I think this is from 1st July, yes. So this is now from 1st July. You know, reason behind selecting the second article from business standard is also very unique. So I found very new arguments which you should understand are going on in terms of FDI inflows in case of India, right? If you remember, we have been discussing the state of FDI inflows. Okay, thank you so much for staying tuned as well. All right. So we have discussed in the RBI annual report that FDI inflows are increasing in India. So if I ask you a bigger picture, you would tell me FDI is performing good in case of India. That's good. That's cool. But that is only a recent phenomena. If we compare it over a longer period of time, you would see there are certain glitches. So that's why I picked up this article. There are certain things, you know. So you see this title, are we overconfident? So author questions the government. Are you overconfident in terms of the FDI? Are we really performing well in terms of FDI? You need to look back into this situation. Otherwise, you would see FDI falling in India in future course of time. So this is the article. Let's see what the author has to say. So you will get a new dimension of analyzing the FDI, present FDI situation in case of Indian economy. Nahin. Okay. So this is the thing. This is okay, I don't want to go into the debate, but everything questioning the government is not written by Raghuram Rajan. I know why are you asking these questions, right? I understand your intent behind this, but no political intentions, just understand what is happening, right? Okay. So are we overconfident? We will come to this question back again after the analysis. Let's see. Okay, so first the author is saying, over the past 10 years, the union government has been quite optimistic about India's position as a, as desirable investment destination. So the author is saying, over the past 10 years, Indian government is very optimistic in terms of India's position as desirable investment destination, because we have seen the reports, we have seen all these things that for investors, India is a desirable destination of investment, isn't it? But this optimism should not be exaggerated. Why government is optimistic? So we have reasons for that as well. It is not a false optimism. It is not a bubble which will get burst. We have our macroeconomic indicators like GDP, employment, investment, savings, growth performing very well, capital formation. government expenditure, in capital expenditure, but still we need to look at the bigger picture. So the author is saying, backed by strong macroeconomic performance and positive statements from global investors, senior officials in the New Delhi have been confident that nothing needs to change in attracting FDI. So the author is saying that since Indian economy is performing very well, this has given the government, New Delhi officials, the government of India, confidence into our FDI. So they are thinking, author is saying, I am not saying, okay, author is saying that the government officials are thinking, we do not need to do anything in terms of FDI inflows. We have a good amount of FDI inflows in case of India, right? But now author highlights the problem. Now the problem is being highlighted. The problem is what? So the problem is that, you know, data from the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD. What is this United Nations Conference on Trade and Development? So UNCTAD, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, is, you know, is a permanent organ of your United, yes, so it is a permanent organ of your United Nations General Assembly. Okay, General Assembly. It basically works for development in infrastructure, investment, all these things, right? So this trade development, infrastructure development, all these kind of development projects. So this report has demonstrated, so a recent report by this organ has, you know, demonstrated that FDI into India fell 43%, fell by 43% in just 1 year between 2022 and 2023. Remember this fact. So this is saying FDI in India fell by 43% in just 1 year between 2022 and 2023. This is alarming. That's why the question, are we overconfident in terms of FDI? Is it really performing well? This is the question. So this is the new dimension. We will try to answer why so. This is the new dimension which you learn. Okay. So you have seen optimistic opinion about FDI. Now we have another opinion about FDI. So let's try to understand what the author has to say further in this case. Also, the author is saying, if even you don't rely so much on the international data, we have national data as well. The data from Indian official sources also is indicating to this thing only. The data from Indian official sources is suggesting that, you know, net FDI, what goes out of India, what comes into India, net of it, right? Net FDI. So FDI inflows we are talking about. India is at the lowest level since 2007. So, you know, even after the global financial crisis of 2008-9, still the FDI numbers have not been able to recover from it. Are you getting my point? So Indian officials data is also showing, leave apart the international data, Indian data is also showing that after 2007, what you have had in terms of FDI, it has been the lowest level of FDI. Whether you see it is continuously rising, you are attracting good amount of FDI in the recent years. But if you compare it with the pre-crisis level, pre-crisis means pre-2008-9 crisis level, you will see it is the lowest since then. So there is some issue which needs to be addressed, right? Are you getting my point? So author is now saying, coming to the reasons why is it so. So author is saying that, you know, many may point to global factors as the reason for this. Many opinions can be that this is due to global factors. International reasons are responsible for this. Okay, like, you know, perhaps it is the case that advanced markets are more attractive in age of industrial policies and widespread subsidies. So author is saying, some of you might think that the global scenario is responsible for this plight of FDI. you might argue that the advanced economies might be more lucrative, they might seem, but the data tends to puncture such comfortable narratives. So author is clearly saying that this is not the case. Data shows that it is not the global factors, it is something inherent into the economy only. It is not that advanced economies have become more lucrative, it is that your economy is not attracting that much FDI. Are you getting my point? So you need to work on your internal factors, on your structure of the economy, on your laws. This is something the author is highlighting. So what is the data? On what grounds is the author saying this? So author says that stable flows into India's neighbors. So we have data supporting that this is not the case. Also the author is saying our neighbors, neighboring countries of India, they are having stable FDI flows. They are having stable FDI flows. So stable flows into India's neighbors and our peers, our competitors in Southeast and East Asia, they demonstrate that what is visible here is an India specific shock to FDI. So it is only, remember this line, it is only India specific shock to FDI. It is not something happening due to advanced economies being more lucrative in the market. No. Have you understood till this point? Yes or no? Let me know quickly. How to write, we will discuss it someday in the other classes, right? Right now we don't have that much time. I'll discuss with you, okay? Whenever we have enough time, I'll discuss. Just remind me. So, have you understood this thing? Neighboring countries, तो अगर ग्लोबल सिनेरियो की वजह से ही एफडीआई खराब हुआ होता तो नेबरिंग कंट्रीज का भी होता, एग्री और नॉट? बट दे आर वेरी स्टेबल, they are getting stable flows. Then what is the problem? It is something specific to your own economy. There are possible reasons. I'll come to them. First you tell me, you have understood till this point, right? Now moving ahead. So, the author says that it has long been argued that headline grabbing announcements about investment intentions do not adequately reflect the reality. Only a handful of those memorandums of understanding turn into projects on the ground. Now, since you have asked me the question that India is one of the fastest growing economies, then why is this situation? So, the answer to this is underlies in this statement. So, the author says that only headline grabbing announcements about investments are not enough. सरकार सिर्फ हेडलाइन कैच करने वाले अगर अनाउंसमेंट्स करे कि हम तो इन्वेस्टमेंट बहुत बढ़ा रहे हैं, हम इन्वेस्टमेंट्स करेंगे, हम कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर काफी करेंगे, राइट, ओनली इन्वेस्टमेंट किसी और कंट्री में भी करेंगे, दैट वुड नॉट ओनली वर्क. यू हैव टू एक्चुअली रियलाइज दैट ट्रांजेक्शन, यू हैव टू एक्चुअली make that memorandum of understanding happen or become reality. Then only you will see boost in investments in your country. So one reason is this कि अभी जितना हो रहा है that is good. We are not saying that बहुत कम है, but we are saying 2007 के level से कम है. Why? Are you getting my point? So you need to work upon these things. You have to sign MOUs with these countries. Only talking about them is not sufficient. Understood this? Next, the author is saying that you have to sign this. Then government is not so covert, government's not so covert preference for domestic companies. Other reasons highlighted by author for this situation is government, right now. So this is nothing, there is something not negative about this, but you all know that we are promoting the domestic companies, isn't it? We are promoting the domestic manufacturers, domestic companies as well. Right? Yes or no? So, preference for domestic companies is also something responsible, although the intention behind preferring the domestic companies because we want to enhance make in India, manufacturing process in India, made in India kind of projects are going on. So, that is something different, but it is contributing to this. Are you able to understand that? Yes or no, right? Then, unwillingness to sign up to global value chains. We do not want to abstain. We are not, adopting protectionist policies like that of the US government, but still we are protecting our, which the level of liberalization which we are having. So whatever protection is possible with growing liberalization, we are indulging in it, right? So that is the concern. Yeah, that would be useful in that case. Isn't it a pessimistic approach by the author how to frame such answer where something negative answer is predominant? Yeah, so I understand your concern. Here you see negative answer is predominant. We are not answering to a question, we are just discussing an editorial. You can mold your answer into an optimistic tone. So you can say that although it has been low, but recently we have seen an uptick. Recently we have seen an increase, right? So you can mold these tones to a positive context. That depends on your writing skills. Are you getting my point? Now, so this is promoting domestic manufacturing. We are not reluctant to be an active contributor in the global value chain. We are just wanting our domestic producers to be competitive in the market. This is the thing. So that is one of the reasons. Because of the protection of the domestic consumers, you are witnessing this kind of trend. There is nothing negative about it. Okay. Then also, we are not entering into some kind of new FTAs. If you remember the RCEP, I have discussed with you, right? RCEP. So, India abstained from signing the RCEP. I have told you the reasons. New Zealand, China, all these countries, they are able to realize economies of scale in their production. They are able to produce more at a very lower cost in comparison to India. Signing FTAs with them, signing RCEP with them would compromise on the competitiveness of your own domestic investors and producers. So that is also one of the reasons. But these are required. Okay, you need these kind of interventions. Have you understood? And inability to push through administrative and judicial reforms. Author is also saying you have something related to your laws as well. You need to make your laws more investment friendly. Your tax laws, your investment laws, your ease of doing business performance, you need to improve upon them. Litigations, business related litigations, investment related litigations, you need to have judicial and administrative reforms as well, so that they also support investment and production growth in the economy. This is also highlighted by the author. So all these reasons, the author says, should be blamed for this crisis of investment according to the author, as compared to the 2007-8 levels. Are you getting my point? Right? So these are the reasons. Now have you understood what all could be the reasons? Some of the reasons I have discussed with you for this kind of trend being highlighted by the author in this editorial. Understood everyone? Right? Now, so the author is saying, now what do we need to do? We have to change policies. Policies need to be made investor friendly. Okay, we have to make policies investor friendly. Investor friendly reforms. You should have tax laws which are easy to comply with. You remember I have discussed with you the canons of taxation. One of them was easy compliance, right? The qualities, the virtues with which taxation system of an economy should have, right? Canons of taxation. So that should be improved. Easy compliance, reduce tax slabs, reduce tax rates. Even if not tax rates, the complexity should be reduced so that investors get to know, they are certain about the taxes which they have to pay, so that they can calculate their profits. They can calculate. Judicial reforms, these litigations, business related, production related, pending, they are pending. So you need to reduce the pendency as well. Sometimes stalled projects are there, they go into the courts. So NGT and the business person has clashes. Are you getting my point? So these kind of reforms you need. So the business personnel does not have to indulge into much of litigation and the project does not stall due to some irrational reasons. Whatever rational reasons are there, that would be welcomed. Shrishti, understood? Right? So this is the thing. So you should have investor friendly tax laws, policies. Tax administration should be easy. You should have online access. So we are performing well on this part, Recently, if you see, government is continuously trying to bring policies for better tax administration. You have online facilities now. You need not visit the income tax department. All these things are pushing FDI inflows in India. Okay, then regulation will have to be fast tracked. Trade policy will also have to change to tackle geopolitical realities. You need to be very contemporary in case of trade policies as well. Your trade policies should reflect the present geopolitical realities going on. Are you getting this point? So there are these geopolitical tensions going on in every pocket of the world, then and there, right? So your trade policies should be efficient and smart and be prudent enough to override any of the negative impacts which arises out of those geopolitical tensions. Are you getting my point? You should diversify your revenue of trade so that risk or crisis in one country does not affect your trade volume with other countries. It does not affect your trade balance negatively. You should have varied options to do your trade with. Understood? Right? This is the thing. It is not the case clearly that India's market is so attractive that everyone wants to come here. Trade agreements, especially with the European Union and United Kingdom, are overdue. Also, the author says we have certain trade agreements which are overdue with UK, with EU. Whatever complexities, whatever glitches, loopholes are there, due to which Indian government has not been able to realize or to make them implement or come into effect. To sign those trade agreements or MOUs, you should work upon that. Solve all these issues from whichever side they are arising, from EU's side, from our side. Try to resolve them, try to work upon them and then sign them. That would add to your FDI net inflows for the economy. Okay, there is a great deal the government can do reverse this decline. So this decline which we have had after the global financial crisis, government can reverse this decline. We can create a new history with all these kind of reforms which are suggested by the author. These latest numbers should demonstrate that the time for complacency has passed. So you should not have any doubts now. Any doubts? You should be satisfied with your FDI growth. What is complacency? When you are not very much satisfied with your performance, right? So we should not have complacency anymore in case of India. We should be very confident enough in terms of FDI growth as well. For that, you need all these dimensions to be covered. So there are pros and cons to anything. So this was a critical analysis. You have seen the positive side of FDI inflows in RBI annual report. Today you have seen the cons which are there, the glitches which are there, the areas, the gray areas in case of FDI which are there at present with Indian economy. So now you are well equipped with the critical analysis of FDI. Critical analysis of FDI. Okay, so this was the critical analysis of FDI. Now if I come back to this question, so now the question in the very first slide, are we overconfident? Now what your answer would be? What your answer would be? This question, if you see, are we overconfident? What will be your answer to this question? After doing this entire analysis, just tell me quickly a little, right? So you should not be very blunt in saying that yes, we are very much overconfident in terms of FDI inflows in India. No, that would have a negative connotation. That would have a negative connotation. We can say, we should not answer it like yes or no. We can say that we are confident. We are not overconfident. We are confident in FDI, for net FDI inflows in case of India. But still, we need to improvise upon the gray areas which are there. This is how you make your answer sound positive. This is how you tilt the tone, the connotation of your answers into a positive side. I hope that was useful for you. Any doubts so far from today's class? Noted, right? So, any doubts, any questions? I hope you have enjoyed this session. Both the editorials might be useful for you. And if you have any doubts, I'm waiting. Otherwise, I would end the session here. We will meet tomorrow with the editorial analysis. Right? So that is it for today. I'll see you in the next session. I hope there is no question, no questions, no doubts. Thank you. All right. So thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow with the next editorial session. Okay. Thank you so much. Just stay tuned. Stay focused. All right. Thank you for being focused for such a long duration. All right. I'll see you in the next session. Have a good day. Thank you so much.